to our webinar series. So welcome, and I hope you return. I hope you get some good things out of this. So this is one of my favorite presentations to facilitate because I get to move a little bit too. So I get to move, you get to move. I hope you are prepared for that. You will be off camera, but I will be on camera, and I do think that watching and doing is a great way to promote a healthy work culture, safety culture. So today we're going to be talking about dynamic movement. We're going to be going through how to safely move and safely warm up the body in a consistent way. These exercises are designed to be completed at the beginning of the day, midway through the day. You can mix and match the order. You can mix and match a few different things. You don't have to, this isn't a prescription. You don't need to do everything every single time. It is a really nice full body dynamic warm up to get things going. So we've just got a disclaimer because it's going to be some exercise. So the information we're going to be talking about is for general use. It may not apply directly to people who are experiencing an injury or discomfort right now. They'll probably need some modifications if you're going to be implementing this in your workforce, which I encourage you to do. We've got lots of resources available to help you to do that. And if somebody has some injuries, there's always ways we can scale things back to make it achievable and inclusive for everyone. So we'll be talking about what a dynamic warm-up is. Who should participate in a dynamic warm-up? When and where these exercises or dynamic warm-ups can be completed? And what does the dynamic movement guide look like? So we have put together this presentation, and we also have a booklet, a pocket book, if you are willing, if you are interested in purchasing one of those, and the poster. I'll show you both of those at the end. So both of those are available for sale, but their PDFs are available for free through the AMHSA website. So you'll be able to see this recording. I believe recordings available, a PDF of the posters, all of the stretches, all of the warm-ups, everything. It's all available for free on through the AMHSA website. But then if you're interested in purchasing something larger for display, there's links for that available as well. So I just want to start things off by talking about the difference between static stretching, which a lot of us are more familiar with, and a dynamic warm-up. So a dynamic warm-up is designed to warm up the muscles and increase body temperature, improve readiness before doing an activity. So a dynamic warm-up, it really takes the body through a predictable set of movements to safely prepare the body for work. Whereas static stretching is kind of characterized by holding a still static position for about 15 to 30 seconds to stretch the muscles, which is a bit different. If the body is cold before static stretching will probably, you need to make sure you're being very gentle with your body so that you don't hurt it. We always want to stretch to the point of stretch and not to pain. I really recommend, warming up the body before doing static stretches anyway. But this dynamic warm-up is really focused on getting people warmed up before they go into work or before they do some physical tasks. We want to warm up the body, warm up the muscles. Warm muscles are more flexible than cold muscles. And then we're able to participate in our work a lot easier. So there's many benefits to this dynamic warm-up. If they're doing it, if your employees are doing it in a group, there's some social benefits. Cognitive benefits, it's something everybody's doing all together, everybody. kind of puts everybody on the same level as well. The main purpose of this dynamic warm-up is to prepare the body for more physical tasks that it's going to be completing throughout the day. If you have employees that do a little bit of overhead work, it just makes sense that they are doing some overhead stretching and moving and just going through that range of motion before they need to, forcefully exert some energy, A dynamic warm-up actively contracts and lengthens the muscles over several repetitions. So we do repeat the activities, and we do aim to move the joint through its full range of motion. It might not look like that during the first repetition, and maybe if this is something that your workplace is interested in doing and incorporating over, I'm just going to say like a 3-week session or something like that, like where you're really going to focus on this, and every morning or after every lunch break or something like that, you're going to go into it. Day 1 is going to look very different from day 15. We just want to, there's no wrong way to warm up. It's just nice to have kind of a set of exercises to provide some variety. So like I've said, we want to increase the temperature of the muscles. We want to prepare them for work. We want to, increase heart rate a little bit, not a lot, resting heart rate's about 70-ish. We want to just increase it a little bit, maybe in the 80s, just, to get people warmed up and ready for work. So this is important for industrial workers because we want to prepare the body for both the movements, so different postures, and we also want to prepare them for loads because we know that our employees are often doing physical things, so pushing and pulling, just as a function of arm work, or pushing and pulling with the entire body, walking, lifting, and getting into awkward postures, but also adding force to that as well. So this is important because it allows people to practice movements and just pre-activate the movements so that they are ready before they really need to perform. So when we're kind of thinking about performing, sometimes people talk about industrial athletes, and that our workers are industrial athletes, and we might as well just kind of look at other athletes as well. And so, when you watch people, hockey players, for example, if you're going to a hockey game, you don't see them doing static stretching. You see them skating around. I'm not a hockey player, so my references are not going to be great, but you see them skating in a circle. You see them skating forwards, skating backwards, shooting the puck. They're bringing their entire body through a full range of motion. Sometimes after they've kind of warmed up a little bit, they might do a little bit of a more focused stretch, like the individual in this photo here. But we see more motion and movement and more practice and going through the range of motion. So as I mentioned, there are several benefits to incorporating a dynamic warm-up program. So on a cognitive basis, you're kind of waking up the mind as well as the body. We're increasing our alertness levels. Also just kind of getting to know our body a little bit. So sometimes you might not realize that you've got a little bit of muscle soreness, possibly from how you slept the night before or something that you did the previous day, and you might notice like, oh, my shoulder's a little tender. So I might kind of really focus on that aspect of the warm up during the day. But then you're also it's just raising awareness in yourself that, oh, I did something to my shoulder, so maybe I should just be really conscious of that when I'm going through my work today. It also reduces mental fatigue. It improves psychological stress. Just because you're creating some endorphins, you're getting some movement going. It improves communication with your coworkers. Like I said, you're all on the same level and you're all doing the same exercises. It can improve morale. Everybody's on the same level, and it's nice team building. Some more places that I've done dynamic warm-ups with, they take turns leading the exercise every day, and that helps too, because then it, it's not falling on one person's shoulders and everybody gets a turn. So who should engage in a dynamic warm-up? I'm pretty biased. I think everybody. I think everybody who's going to complete physically demanding tasks, but I also think that office workers can also do dynamic warm-ups. Mostly because if office workers are not moving very much, it means that some muscles are working really, really hard and other muscles aren't working very hard. So if you're an office worker, it's really important to get up and change your posture every 30 to 60 minutes. Doesn't really matter what you do, but if you get bored with walking around your floor, you might adopt some of these dynamic warm-up, just to increase blood flow and wake yourself up a little bit. So I really do encourage everyone. There's some movement available for everybody, and unless you're medically advised to not complete some activities, and for example, if you got an injury and you can't raise your hands above shoulders, then you know that you should be doing some exercises that are below shoulder level. Pretty much, if you have employees who are in that kind of position, hopefully they are being led by a healthcare provider anyway, and they've got their own set of exercises and stretches that they should be doing. But there should be at least a few that they're able to participate in fully. So when should the exercises be completed? There's no wrong answer, but if you are an industrial worker, consider doing it at the beginning of the shift. At the beginning of the shift, everyone's present. It's a good idea to do it prior to completing, physically demanding tasks, like shoveling after an extended break, after you've been driving for more than 30 minutes, for example. So, if I had my way, I guess I would encourage everybody, to get the shift together or parts of the shift together and just go through them together with your team. At the very beginning, it doesn't have to be long. Like these are kind of 5 to 7 minutes long, the whole program. And then throughout the shift, now that our workers are familiar with these, they might choose to, repeat some of them after lunch or some of them before they complete, a particularly demanding task. I encourage drivers. Many of our workers do a lot of really physical tasks, but they also do a lot of driving. So whether it's forklift or heavy truck, if they're driving for a long period of time, and in this case, I define long as 30 minutes because I think everybody should change their posture every 30 to 60 minutes. So after 30 minutes of static postures, I'd like you to move a little bit, get your body ready before you do something physical. So if you're driving somewhere, you drive to that location, get up. Maybe it looks like doing a circle check. So doing a circle check, maybe doing some shoulder rolls while you are doing your circle check, maybe getting your hands ready, doing some wrist rolls, just kind of getting your whole body ready before you open up the back and unload. So definitely, I like to start more for the convenience factor before completing a physically demanding task, after prolonged breaks, after driving. As a safety culture, I think and I believe that when people are used to doing these activities at work, it often moves into the home and leisure activities as well, and it just becomes part of second nature. So you know what, I'm going to go play hockey on the weekend, or I'm going to go skiing, and you just know you're a bit more aware of your body, and you know that you need to get it ready to move. So that might look like walking, going for a walk to kind of elevate your heart rate, do some dynamic warm-ups before you put your ski boots on, get out your skis, do a couple of short little runs before you get into some of the hard stuff. So one note is one thing, like I review injury statistics quite often, and one of the highest risk times for getting injured is if somebody is doing a lot of prolonged driving, and then they go from prolonged driving to doing some heavy lifting. So when you're sitting, particularly still, our back muscles aren't moving a whole lot, and then you're expecting a lot of them to unload. So that's a pretty high risk injury job of driving and with a combination of unloading. So kind of keep that in mind. So where should these exercises be completed? So I encourage as a group, more for the camaraderie and increased morale, that they can definitely be completed alone, though. They should always be completed in an open space so that people have space to move. You know, I tell people to, you know, before we get started, you know, move your hands out. If you're touching anybody, then you're probably too close to them. So make sure you've got some space to move. Also make sure that you are not in an active parking lot where drivers might come in and out. Make sure you're on level ground, not an icy surface. No gopher holes around that people might turn their ankles in, without tripping hazards, that type of thing. So what does this dynamic warm-up guide look like? So it is basically 11 exercises that warm the body up from head to toe. So in our guide, which I'll go through, each exercise has a short description of what's going on. It has guidance for how many repetitions should be completed. It has some tips for success. In my pre-ergonomist world, when I was a fitness instructor, I kind of call these cues. So just things for people to think of, and reminders to breathe, that kind of thing. They also include ways to mix it up. So add some variety to the stretch to make it a little bit easier, to make it more challenging, those kinds of things. Every stretch has graphics, and completing the entire dynamic warm-up should take about 5 to 8 minutes. So if you're ready, let's get moving. So I meant to put on my running shoes today, but I did not. So I just took my slippers off so that I am removing some tripping hazards. So that's just kind of what I'm doing. I'm letting you know. Because I want to make sure that I don't hurt myself while I'm being recorded. So first, I want you to make sure that you've got some space so that you can perform the exercise. You want to make sure the area is free and clear and loose, clear of loose material, sorry. And I want you to do all of these. I have no idea where you are listening from. I don't know if you're in a private office or a cubicle or in a home office, but I do encourage you to go through these exercises with me, because you'll just get more familiar with them. So I also encourage you to perform these exercises within your own personal fitness capabilities. When we go through some squats, for example, if you're hurting, just don't push yourself. Okay, we're trying to increase range of motion over time. So this we're incorporating different movements, and so that's what the goal is. So if you are standing up and if you are moving, and if it looks close to what we are doing, you are completely successful. So let's get ready. We're going to start with some alternating arm raises. So I'm going to have one arm up and the other one down, and we're just going to do this. Okay, so I'll get you to do this, and we're going to get, so we've got our model, and she's going to go through these with us as well. So the goal is 10 reps per side. So you want to have your palms facing flat. Okay, so palms flat. Okay, and hopefully you're feeling some movement. Okay, so some modifications that can be made with this is you can raise your arm half of the way up if you want, to complete a shorter range of motion that works for your body. Doing stuff like this is important, especially if you've got some people with shoulder injuries. So I do encourage modifications. The goal is movement. Remember, it's movement and increasing heart rate and things like that. So they will still be getting a workout, even if they are not doing the full range of motion. Okay, the goal is to get there, but if people are moving within their capabilities and without pain, that's what we want. So typically I like the palms flat when we are doing this exercise, because then it works more muscles. But if there's any discomfort in the front of your shoulder, you might want to move into a more natural like handshake posture. So you're slicing. Okay, you can try that difference if you'd like, and just see how that changes. So it's all right. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go into a cross body punch. So I want you to stand with your feet about shoulder width apart, shoulders relaxed. And if you're capable, I want you to bring your arms up to about shoulder height, and we're going to punch. Okay, so soft knees. So turn in the opposite direction while keeping your hips stable. Soft knees will encourage your legs to get involved here a little bit. I'm going to get our model to show us here. So the goal is to do 10 reps on each side. Okay, soft knees. You can also twist your feet a little bit. That will take the pressure off of your knees. So this dynamic warm-up activity is looking at increasing movement in the upper body, but it's also starting to engage your core a little bit. You can probably feel that. And it's also starting to engage your legs, just to get some of that movement. You really want to make sure that you're not twisting your back. And how she was getting up onto her tiptoes and moving with each one, that's kind of making sure that she's moving her entire body and not twisting the back. We don't want to twist the back. We just want to move the body. Okay. So if anybody needs to do some modifications, similar to the other exercise, if you're only bringing your arms down to about 45 degrees. Okay. This is still doing all of the things that we want. This is still increasing heart rate. This is still getting the body moving. Some people, they might not feel coordinated enough to do this. So you can also just move the lower body. Okay, you can't see me, but I'm doing, I'm tapping my toes and I'm doing the exact same movements. I'm just keeping my arms down, pivoting my toes, moving my legs. That's also increasing my heart rate. So the next one we're going to do is arm circles. So this is specifically targeting the shoulders. So I want you to stand with your feet about shoulder width apart, soft knees. Remember to breathe. And you're going to start with small circles and slowly work your way to bigger circles. Okay. So keep going here. And once you go about 10 reps, 30 seconds in each direction. Remember to breathe. Remember to have soft knees. Okay, and rotate if you haven't yet. So you can start with the big circles, slowly bring them inside. Excellent. Okay. So modifications again. If you've got employees who are not capable of doing the full range, totally fine. We want to reduce the size of the circle, and they can stay at the same size. They don't need to go bigger or smaller to larger. So we're going to do some body weight squats, and this might be intimidating for some of you and also for some of your workers. So there's some cues that I really want you to think about. The biggest things is I always want knees to go no further than the toes, as you can see in these pictures. And I always encourage people to make sure that they are sticking their bum out. So keep your butt back. When you're doing that, you are able to maintain this lumbar curve in your back, and that's what your back likes. Backs don't like it when we flatten that curve, because then that kind of tries to push out some discs, and then your back has to work really hard to make sure that those discs don't pop out. So you want to minimize back bending. You're going to have the arms parallel to the ground or on your waist. Excuse me. And you're just going to kind of drop your body, making sure your knees do not go over your toes, and just to a maximum of 90 degrees. So have your feet about shoulder width apart, and I want you to follow along with me. You probably won't be able to see me fully, but you'll be able to see our model as well. So this movement is good for the legs, the buttocks, the lower back. Okay, so we're going to go through this. So we're going to try, sorry about that phone, just 1 second. Please. Apologies. Time with her as well. Okay. So hopefully you've been able to do about 10, and just do what you're comfortable with. You don't need to go all the way down. Remember the goal. The goal is movement, and the goal is to try to elevate your heart rate a little bit. Some modifications is you can go against the wall. So using the wall can provide a little bit of support. It can take some of the load off your back and your knees if you're experiencing some discomfort. Mini squats, so squatting down about a quarter of the way, will also engage your glute muscles, your back, and your hamstrings at the back of your leg. It'll engage all of those muscles, which is what we want. You could also have a chair right behind you, so that if you're worried about falling, then you know that if you do fall, you're going to fall into the chair, and you're not going to fall very far because the chair is going to be right behind you. If doing a couple of them is enough for you at the very beginning, that's totally fine. Another trick is to place your hands on your hips. If you want to do this, this can decrease some pressure. It can also have you focus a little bit more on the actual muscles, your glute muscles, and it can also keep your arms down, and then you're really focusing on your lower body instead of also focusing on keeping your arms straight out in front of you. So another exercise we're going to do is heel lifts. So this is a really great activity for the whole leg, and people with knee issues get huge benefits from this because the heel lifts are really engaging the muscles below and above the knee, and our knees take a lot of I don't have the word for me. They get beat up a lot, I guess, as we get older. So we really want to take care of them. So one way to take care of them is to make sure that the muscles stabilizing the knee are really strong. So heel lifts are a great activity. So what you want to be doing is relaxed posture, soft knees, feet about shoulder width apart, and you're going to slowly lift your heels and then lower yourself. Okay, so we'll watch our girl here. Some things that you can do to make this a little bit more challenging is you can stay up for a little bit longer before coming down. So there's quite a few different ways that you can make heel lifts more challenging for you. And there's a few things that you can do to make it easier. So some things that you can do to make it easier are you can lift heels up halfway instead of full way. You can hold on to a chair or balance on the wall or hold on to something to help keep your balance. You can place a small object under the heels just to assist with getting up that last little bit, the final range of the motion. If you'd like to make it more challenging, you could try it on stairs so that you get an extra range of motion so that your heels are going below the surface and then up. And if you've got some people who are really wanting to challenge themselves even more, they could do one leg or shift, try doing it with right leg only and then with left leg only. But really, like, we're not trying to strengthen a lot here. This is the purpose of these exercises are to kind of get ready for work. So it doesn't need to be really, really demanding here. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to work on our high knees. So I want you to stand with your legs about shoulder width apart, and we're going to bring one knee up to about hip level if you're capable, and then we'll do the other one. So we're going to alternate with right hand to left knee, left hand to right knee. So we'll do those. This is going to warm up the upper part of your legs and your hips, and you're probably going to start to feel your heart rate increase a little bit, okay? Remember to breathe. Okay. Hopefully you're feeling pretty good. So if you're looking to do some modifications, if your group needs a little bit of extra, you can place one or both hands onto a stable surface for balance so that you can just focus on knees only. Put your hands on your hips if you want to focus on knees only. And of course, the option of raising the knees only about a quarter or halfway up, instead of bringing them all the way up to knee level, is an option. Absolutely. Okay, so after you exercise the front part of your leg, so the quadricep muscles, which we just did, it's important to do the same kind of targeted focus for the hamstrings. So we're going to do some kickbacks. So standing about shoulder width apart, soft knees. We're going to alternate legs or kicking gently, moving, not kicking, a heel up to your bum, okay? And then the other one. So you want your knees pointing down so that you're stretching your muscles in the right direction. If you've got your knees far apart, it's you're just going to place extra pressure on your knee, which isn't very nice. So we'll follow along with her here. Remember to breathe. Knees are about shoulder width apart. Relaxed shoulders. Okay. So we want to aim for about 10 per side. If you need to make some modifications, or if anyone else, if any of your employees need to make some modifications, feel free to just hold on to something for a little bit of extra balance so that you can really focus on your legs moving. Move your leg through that range of motion only as far as you can safely maintain your balance, even regardless of whether you're holding on to something. As long as you are moving your foot off the floor, then you're going to be using those hamstring muscles, which we're targeting. So if your heel doesn't go all the way to touch your bum, it's okay. You're still activating those muscles. We're still warming them up. So we're going to move into some lunges. So it's a standing hip flexor exercise. And it's really important, just like it was for the squats, not to let your knee move past your foot. We want your knee to be directly over your heel, not in front of it. If it goes in front, that's going to place a lot of pressure on your knees, and we do not want to do that. Our knees are going through enough as is, just with life. So we want to protect our knees. We want to make sure that we've got relaxed shoulders, soft knees, and keep your head up. Look straight. Engage your core. If you don't know how to engage your core, I want you to give yourself a little cough right now. So when you cough, you activate your core muscles. So your core muscles are your abdominal and back together. They envelop your spinal column. So you want to engage your core. You want to keep your head up and have soft shoulders, soft knees, and both feet facing forward. So we're going to go through this exercise here. Make sure you're breathing. Okay, so that's a little bit more movement. Since it requires a little bit more movement, there might be people who are embarrassed about it, feel like they're taking up a lot of space. Really, we just want to encourage participation, and people will get better at these exercises as time goes on. If people need to make some modifications, holding onto a chair or another staple surface for balance is encouraged. You can also raise your hands out to the side if that helps give balance and lets people focus on their legs. Another thing that you can do is put your hands on your hips. Another thing I encourage is lunging only 1/4 or halfway down. You don't need to do the full lunge the very first time you do it. We don't want to hurt people. We just want to warm them up. Okay, so there's lots of different modifications that can be done. If somebody wants to focus on their right leg and to do, 2 with their right leg and then 2 with their left leg, it's fine. And even the leader who's leading the dynamic warm-up for that session, they might choose to kind of mix it up for everybody that way and just say, you know what, usually we do 1 and 1 and 1 and 1. This time we're going to focus on, 2 for the right leg and then 2 for the left leg and then 2 for the right leg. There's no wrong way to move. The next one we're going to do is kind of a dynamic groin movement. And this is because we want to make sure that we are warming up the hip muscles in all of the directions, not just forward and back, because when people are moving, they're moving all over the place. Okay. So with our dynamic groin movement, we are going to put our legs a little bit further than shoulder width apart. Okay, that's where I was looking around me. You want to make sure that everybody has space. And you want to have your head looking forward. You want to keep your back straight. You want to keep shoulders relaxed, soft knees, maintain that lumbar curve. And I like to have my hands on my hips, and then we can go side to side. Okay, so you want your toes to be in the same direction as your knees. So that means if you're kind of bringing your toes out forward a little bit, that's fine. Make sure that your body shifts in that same way. And we also want to make sure that your knees do not go past your toes. We want to protect our knees. Okay. So it's shifting weight from side to side. So we are focusing on one side of the body here. So one way that you can add movement or some variety is to change if you're going to encourage people to do it for 2 seconds, hold it for 2 seconds, or if you want to hold it for 5 seconds. So, and you remember, you want people to have their legs further than shoulder width apart because we're stretching those inner hip muscles. We're trying to wake them up so that they can move and not give any issues throughout the day or reduce mobility. So some things that you can do to modify and increase stability: place one hand onto a stable surface like a chair or a table or the wall. You can raise your hands out to the side, and you could also reduce the range of motion, especially important if people are recovering from groin injuries. Very common, especially in activities where you're pushing off and moving, okay? We just want to encourage movement. We want people to feel comfortable and confident when they're doing these exercises. So we're going to march on the spot to really kind of bring it all together, increase heart rate. When we do this, this is a march with a purpose. We want relaxed shoulders, relaxed hips, feet about hip width apart, and we are incorporating all of the body. So our goal is to get our elbows up to about 90 degrees, okay? So this is the goal. Same thing with our legs. We're going to try and do that with our legs, and we're just going to march. So we'll go along, march on the spot. Make sure you're breathing. All right. I hope we're all doing well. So modifications, of course, if you need them. Don't bring your hands all the way up if you don't feel comfortable doing so. So you can bring your hands a little bit further down. You can also do smaller knee lifts, okay? Take a break between each movement if you need to. We're getting close to the end, so we're going to focus on some of our hands. So our hands do a lot of things for us. We want to make sure that they're feeling pretty good. So we're going to incorporate some hand range of motion exercises. So you want to extend your fingers as far as you can, open them up, and then squeeze them in, okay? So you want to be doing this. So important for office workers, important for anybody who handles tools, does any kind of tool work, any kind of control work, drivers, anybody. This is an excellent activity, okay? And you want to do a little bit of wrist rolls too. She did that at the end. Okay, you roll one way and then the other. Okay, we want to wake things up, wake up those muscles and ligaments. All right, so there's a few different modifications. You can have your hands to your side instead of up. It's a little bit easier. Okay, keep things in a natural range of motion for you. So a few different ways of mixing up the movements. I talked about some different ways to make things more challenging or easier if people need it. If you want to mix up, add in a few other dynamic warm-up ideas, that's great. If you want to modify a few things, if you want to change the order, if you want to mix up the leadership structure, so there's, you know, one person is in charge one week and then another person the following week, those are some good things to do. There are some other strategies in the guide. I recommend seasons or monthly, something like that. I look forward to hearing from you if you have incorporated something like this already and want to share your ideas for maintaining momentum, starting the momentum, different ways of mixing it up if you've been able to do that. So if you have any questions, now would be a good time to ask. Rob's going to enable your cameras and